Andrew Cuomo is gaining Cuomo-momentum, and I want to talk about it because the New York City mayoral election's coming up. It seems like it's a pretty big deal. All eyes are on New York. I'm Cam from Bulwark. I'm joined today by my friend Lakshya. And Lakshya, I'm sure you saw there was a recent poll that showed once Eric Adams dropped out of the mayoral race so he could go hit big vapes at belly dancing clubs, Cuomo has gained support and Zohran has stayed just about the same. And I think you weren't surprised to hear that.
No, Cam, I wasn't surprised at all because Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo were drawing from the same pool of voters. And so it naturally follows that when one leaves, the other consolidates.
My thought was just like, I didn't expect Zohran to gain more than like 1% or 2%, but I figured some of the people who were holding out for Adams were repulsed enough by Cuomo that perhaps they would go elsewhere. But Sliwa's just about the same. Zohran's just about the same. And Cuomo seems to have closed the gap enough that if Sliwa drops out, it can become a real race here. But before we get into that, I do want to take a look at what Curtis Sliwa, the Republican nominee, the tough on crime, tough as nails Republican, says about the idea of having a socialist mayor. Let's take a look.
Anybody who knows the history of New York City knows we've had socialists in elected office. We've had communists in city council. We had Mark Antonio, who was the congressman that represented East Harlem when FDR was the president. He was a socialist. Somehow life went on. We survived it. It's part of the political process. I don't fear socialists. I don't fear communists. I say, leave it to the people. Let them make the decision at the ballot box.
It's just so funny that the hardcore Republican guy seems to be more reasonable on the matter of having a socialist mayor than a lot of regular liberals are. But do you think there's any chance Sliwa drops out? I really find it very hard to believe he's going to do that.
I find it hard to believe because, again, the race is in 3 weeks. There is not really any indication from Sliwa that he's interested in dropping out. He's rejected offers to drop out. He's campaigning more than ever. I don't see why he would drop out because he's resisted all the pressure till now. And even Trump is like, you know what? Sounds like Zohran's going to win. That sucks.
Yeah, Trump did throw some jabs at Sliwa. He was talking about Sliwa's cat obsession. For anyone who doesn't know, Sliwa has 12 cats. He's always talking about cats. When he's talking about the rat problem in the city, he proposed sending 100,000 feral cats out into the city to get rid of the rats. And he called them, quote, Cape Crusaders at night. It's interesting. You've got the cat in the hat, and then you've got Curtis Sliwa, who refuses to take off his red beret and is always talking about cats. So you kind of see a little bit of a similarity there. But he came out and said that he had been offered 7 figures by multiple people to drop out. And he said, if I get one more offer, I'm going to start naming names. And when Zohran was asked about that, he said, well, listen, I'll tell you one thing. I trust Curtis Sliwa a lot more than I trust Eric Adams and Andrew Cuomo. And then Eric Adams dropped out. So it's not hard to assume Eric Adams probably dropped out after receiving a pretty big bribe. That's kind of how Adams has operated all along. And Adams, by the way, was not without his strengths. One of the things about the Adams administration that I thought was kind of good was the New York City government was able to operate without getting fucked with by the mayor because Adams ostensibly just did not give a shit. So he just let these city offices run without trying to tell them what to do. But anyway, for me, it's I think Sliwa and Zohran have this either unspoken or privately spoken brotherhood where Sliwa is obviously so fucking New York. Sliwa, there's so many things wrong with him. This guy's a fucking New Yorker. With him talking about socialists and communists, him mentioning a congressman from East Harlem. You think Andrew Cuomo could tell you who was in Congress in East Harlem when FDR was president? Sliwa knows New York. And I think he sees Zohran and says, this guy represents the opposite of what I'm all about, but God damn it, this is a fucking New Yorker. So I think there is a degree to which Sliwa is probably staying in because he wants a New Yorker in office more than he wants some asshole like Cuomo. Do you think I'm in the right genre right now?
I think it's always hard to figure out the motives of these types of people, right? Like, what kind of person wants to wage a campaign for political office that everyone knows you have no chance at winning?
15%.
Right? Like, he's stuck at 15%. He's not going any higher. And he knows Cuomo isn't dropping out. So at this point, it's literally just spite that's driving him, saying, like, you can't tell me what to do. And the thing to remember, Cam, and the reason that Cuomo is in such a perilous position to begin with is that Cuomo is possibly the most unpopular Democrat in the entire country. It's important to remember that when he left office as governor, when he was forced to resign after that scandal, he had a sexual harassment scandal. He had the COVID nursing homes thing over his head. He had all types of problems and no one liked him.
Take that, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You no longer have the top position.
That's the thing, right? Like with Cuomo, he's the type of person that represents everything that people hate about a politician.
Take that, Gavin Newsom. Sorry.
No, but even in one-on-ones, right? Like you see Cuomo slightly trailing Zohran in a lot of cases because like the Times did a survey, actually. This was a few months back. They did in early September. Mamdani actually led Cuomo by 4% in a one-on-one. And that should not happen. Again, if you are a former governor and you're running against some random state legislator who is a self-described socialist in a city that Donald Trump gained like 15% of vote share in, you should be in a better position than this.
So you bringing up the Trump thing kind of raises a question, kind of brings up something that I had in mind, which is like, okay, it's hard to get in the mind of someone like a Sliwa who's launching this hopeless campaign, although it sort of makes sense because I think there's just some people that are so like locked into this type of shit that it's not about winning, it's about running. Like it's about the race, it's not about who gets there first. But my question is like, who are the 15% of people who are voting for Sliwa? Because if these people were ideologically motivated to take on the left, they would vote for Cuomo, who's basically running like low key as Trump's pick for mayor. So if you're a New York City Republican, 15% of people in New York are telling these pollsters that they're voting for Sliwa. And I'm wondering, is it just like people on Staten Island who are so obsessed with just being Republican that they're just going to vote partisan along they're going to vote for the Republican anyway? Like,
I can explain this one. Okay, so let me read out a few numbers to you, okay? 18%, 17%, 23%, 30%. That represents the Republican vote share in New York City in the presidential election over the last 4 cycles, okay? So the lowest the Republican vote share has ever gone in New York City in modern history has been 17%. There is always going to be a chunk of people that just say, I am voting for the Republican. I am not voting for the Democrat. Now, Cuomo is kind of running as a de facto Republican in the race in a sense. But what people need to remember is that Cuomo is not a Republican. He is running as an independent or a third party candidate. And on top of that, Cuomo is even more unpopular with Republicans of a certain stripe than Zohran is. So the 15% voting for Sliwa are really just like, they're straight ticket Republican hardliners. They're like, I'm going to vote for the Republican. And also, I hate Andrew Cuomo. I will never consider a vote for him.
And this is an important thing to mention is like, we're not saying Cuomo is the de facto Republican choice. We're not calling Cuomo the Republican pick here because he's not a Molotov cocktail throwing revolutionary who identifies as a socialist communist. Like, that is not why we're saying Cuomo is the Republicans' guy for this. Cuomo is framing himself as this. Let's take a look at him talking about the weaponization of the justice system against Letitia James.
Should the president have gone after Tish James?
Well, my point is, and I think this is nearly uniform, both sides, Democrats and Republicans, believe there's too much politics in the justice system.
Yeah, this is what your statement said yesterday, but should the president have gone after the attorney general? Was he right to do that?
Well, he will say he didn't go after her. The prosecutor will say they were just doing justice, which is what Tish James said about going after President Trump. I'm just pursuing justice. That's why it's political.
But what do you say?
Neither side should be playing politics.
Yeah, your opponent was out there this morning saying that you won't condemn the president in any sort of way because you have the same donors. And in this conversation, it doesn't sound like you think that he was wrong in this situation of going after the attorney general. What do you say to Mr. Mamdani, who came out this morning and said you won't speak out against the president?
We have the same donors. The president was from New York. I am a lifelong New Yorker, right? There are people who know the president. There are people who know me. There are people who contributed to the president, contributed to me.
If you won't condemn the president here, in this situation, how can a New Yorker believe you'll actually stand up to him?
You condemn him for what?
So I have a question, which is, does Cuomo have any history with Tish James? Has Tish James ever popped up in Cuomo's life in a way that might make him not her biggest fan?
Yeah, Tish James and Cuomo had a contentious relationship even when she was attorney general and he was the governor. This is not new, and it's not new for the governor to dislike the attorney general that he's working with. But what is new is that, I want to flag that Cuomo during the Democratic primary actually told a lot of people, Donald Trump won't pick a fight with me because he knows I can fight him and he knows that I am willing to stand up to him. And so it's just like, what you see from Cuomo, this shift where all of a sudden he's friendly towards Trump and he's like exploring a Trump endorsement, which was reported on. Like, these are the types of things people don't like about Cuomo because he has already got so many scandals. Then you look at him and he just looks like the classic shapeshifter politician who can't really express any view. And so he takes the worst of all sides.
And that's kind of the closing point I want to make is, does Cuomo look like a guy who wants to be mayor? Does he look like he wants to be a public servant and he wants to go help people and use that office to make people's lives better? Because based on how he frames everything, the way he talks about this, the way that he's campaigned, the way that he didn't campaign in the primary, basically showed up to nothing, it doesn't seem like he actually wants this. It seems like he saw an opportunity to get some sort of satisfaction after being, thrown out as governor for good reason. Now he can finally win something again. But you look at that guy and you're like, what is going through his head? Is he thinking, gee, here's all the ways I can make people's lives better when I'm in office. Here's these new solutions I have for everything. Or is this just some fucking asshole who can't put his ego aside? And, people keep saying this because of his credible sexual harassment allegations. But truly, this guy can't take no for an answer. What do you think he even does if he wins?
Cuomo is only seeing this as a way for him to get back to power. This is it. This is the only reason he is interested in going back to public office. He just wants to get back to power. He doesn't care about what the mayor does. He didn't even live in New York City until a year ago at the earliest, right? He's living in his daughter's apartment in New York City, quote unquote, living. So Cuomo is only doing this because he wants to get back into public life. He spent his career serving in public life, serving himself really, but serving in public life. And when you take that away from someone who's 68, they're like, well, I've always been in the game. I want to get back. And he doesn't care about helping people here. And people know that. People see it. That's why they don't want him back. That's why he keeps bleeding support. That's why he's the most unpopular Democrat in the nation.
Well, everybody, you heard it here first. Curtis Sliwa, you cat-loving son of a bitch, if you're watching this, don't give up your dreams. Don't let people bribe you. Don't let people talk you out of it. You've got a shot here. It's not impossible for you to come in and win with 70% of the vote. So keep on chugging. Don't take that hat off. With Bulwark, we're Cam and Lakshya. We'll see you all soon.